Light shone through the thick branches of the tall trees, barely illuminating the forest floor. A girl, around the age of 14, walked along an old beaten path. Her name was Raven Winters. She wore a striped long-sleeved shirt, which was red and black. She had on dark blue skinny jeans and combat boots. She had long, wavy brown hair that fell to her shoulders, and on her head was a set of brown wolf ears, which twitched every time a slight breeze blew against them. She had a long, brown tail, which was white near the tip. She paused every once in a while, raising her head to test the air. She came across two men with guns and started climbing a tree to hide herself. The people took notice of the branches shaking as she climbed. 3 bloodhounds ran up to the tree she was in and began to bark, alerting their masters. "Hunters," Raven growled, glaring at the humans. She could already see the headlines on the newspaper. "The Denver wolf strikes again. 2 hunters slaughtered in the forest." She grinned at the thought of killing the pathetic humans and jumped down, landing in front of the 2 men. Their dogs ran off in fear and their expressions changed to a frightened look. "It's her, the Denver wolf," one of the men cried. She drew a strange symbol in the air with fire, and a scythe appeared in her hands. "Yeah, that's right. Fear me," Raven said, a wicked grin appearing on her face. One of the men cocked his gun and shot at her, but she swiftly moved her scythe to block the bullet. The bullet bounced off the blade and hit the man in the chest, going right through his lungs. He started to cough up blood, and she swung her scythe towards the injured hunter's neck, decapitating him. The other man shrieked, dropping his gun, and started to run off. With inhuman speed, Raven ran after him and quickly caught him. She grabbed his shirt and pulled him close. "There's no hope for you. You cannot escape the clutches of darkness," she said in his ear before slitting his throat with sharp claws. He fell to the forest floor, gasping for air as blood spurted from his neck. Her eyes were glowing a bright orange by this time because of the metallic scent of blood filled her nose. She licked the blood off the blade of her scythe before drawing another symbol in the air with fire once more, causing the murder weapon to disappear. "Nighty-night," she said in a cheery tone before running off as the man slowly faded from existence. Raven headed towards the back door of her house, humming a happy tune. A yapping noise could be heard from inside. Her dog, Blaze, was waiting for her to walk in. She unlocked the door quickly and walked in, slamming the door behind her. Blaze jumped up and barked happily, knocking her over onto the floor. His barks formed the word, "I love you," making her smile. "I love you too, my little Blazekins," she said, standing up. She walked towards her bedroom and was stopped by her older brother, Jackson. "Raven, what happened? You're covered in blood," he said, crossing his arms. "Oh, nothing. I just went on a little killing spree," she replied, grinning insanely. "Again? You already have a bounty on your head. What if someone manages to kill you?" he exclaimed, pointing a finger at her. She laughed and walked past her brother towards her room. She pushed the door open and jumped on her bed. After a few minutes, Raven slowly drifted off into a deep sleep. Raven was walking in the woods, hunting for prey. "Raven," a strange voice called, causing her to turn in all directions. "It was probably just the wind," she mumbled, shaking her head, and continued walking. An intense feeling of dread overtook her, but she ignored it and kept walking. She began to hear a faint static like ringing in her ears. Raven, the same odd voice from before called out. She whipped around, only to stare at a tall, slender man with no face. Beside him, a boy with brown hair, an orange jacket, and a white mask. Her ears flattened against her head, and she backed away slowly, her tail between her legs. What are you? She stuttered, backing into a tree. The tall, faceless man held out his hand, beckoning her to come closer. She refused, and the man walked up to her along with the boy. The boy held her down as a faceless man put a bony finger to her neck. He began to draw a symbol into her skin. She felt a burning sensation as the tall, faceless man backed away and the boy let her go. "You will work for me now," the faceless man said, and teleported away. Raven gasped and shot up. She looked around wildly, not noticing she was in her room. She got up, throwing the covers off her, and walked towards the bathroom. She turned on the water and splashed it in her face, even though it would weaken her. She looked in the mirror and gasped. The mark was on her neck. She ran out of the bathroom, and her brother grabbed her by the shoulders. "Raven, what's wrong?" he inquired, looking in her eyes. "The mark! It's there! It wasn't a dream!" she said, pointing to the spot on her neck. "What the? Oh my God. That's the operator symbol. He has chosen you as a proxy," Jackson exclaimed. "Who is he?" Raven asked, tilting her head. "Slender Man, you're his proxy now," he said, letting go of his sister's shoulders. Raven ran out the back door and into the woods. She ran until she was out of breath. She heard a gun being loaded and looked up. A man was pointing a gun in her face. "Your reign of terror ends here, Denver Wolf. Any last words?" he asked, cocking the gun. She smirked and grabbed the gun. She jerked it out of his hands as he managed to get a shot out. It hit her in the shoulder, and the man cried in victory, not realizing she had taken the gun. Raven continued to smirk and got the gun. She aimed for his head and pulled the trigger. The bullet hit its mark. Blood flew everywhere and managed to get on her face. Raven licked the blood off and dropped the gun. "He got me," she muttered, and grabbed her wounded shoulder, which was bleeding fast. She stumbled a couple of feet, and her vision started to get blurry. A long, black tendril wrapped around her waist, lifting her into the air. Raven slowly looked up. It was Slender Man. She smiled, and her vision started to fade. Her hand dropped from her shoulder as she closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed, her heartbeat becoming faint. "Help me," she whispered, fading from consciousness.